Welcome. You have entered a sacred circle where wisdom is woven, not taught. This is the shaman's journey, where divine feminine leads with intuition and through embodiment. We are three master shamans initiated through the High Ascension Academy. In each episode, we simplify the path of awakening through raw conversations, lived experiences, and a deep soul knowing. And then we journey. We guide you through potent energy shifts with High alchemy, belief code, shamanic journeys, sound baths, and somatic integration to anchor real transformation, not just insights. So this is not just another podcast. It is a living transmission that we channel, and it is a sacred space to return to yourself. So breathe, feel, and let the journey begin. I am one of your hosts, Jaylene Starrett, and I am also a quantum life coach, an early childhood educator, and the author of Big Feelings, Brave Parents. And I am joined by my soul sisters.
Hi, I'm Karen Peters Bowden. Thank you all for being here. I am also a licensed independent clinical social worker, along with being an High Master Shaman. And I'm also certified in trauma yoga and sound therapy.
Thanks for joining us today. My name is Caitlin Brooks. I am also an High Master Shaman, a belief code practitioner, auricular therapist, and I also am trained in yoga and somatic work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm so grateful that we get to have this really important conversation today. So let's open it up and let's talk about how do we release trauma that we don't even know is there. And I think that's a big one because I think so many of us feel roadblocked by our past and we don't even necessarily know what it is that is holding us back. We might just feel it. We feel that crippling anxiety or that void in the pit of your stomach that just something isn't right. And you can feel it in your body. You can feel that tension. You can feel that you just don't feel in tune with yourself, but you don't know what's there. And for this conversation, I'd like to pass it over to our trauma therapist, Karen, so she can really introduce us to trauma.
Thank you, Jaylene. In looking at, especially you mentioned anxiety, and looking at it with the physical response in our bodies, if something's occurring in a present now moment, that the physical body will connect with a previous event or experience. What happens is physiologically, our body will respond and go into the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. So, for example, with anxiety, the energy that comes in, and it comes in with uh, anxiety, the emotions with anxiety. Very often, as I've heard, and working with clients and within myself, very commonly what occurs, well, people will experience rapid heartbeats. They'll feel like their throat's closing, that they're on, they're having difficulty taking in that breath and breathing. If it gets so um, to the point which I call jacked up, but what happens in a freeze response is numbness will occur in our limbs and people will become to that degree of paralysis where it's restricting their movement and blood supply. And what's happening is the brain is getting that transmission saying that there's a fear, that there's something to be anxious with, which is something that through our experiences that we're conditioned also to believe is we want to avoid it. We want to run from it. And it's not until we begin to name it and name the emotion and sit with it and pause and take that breath, will then it begin to dissipate. So wanting and avoiding is not the answer. It's the point of sitting with it and being with it and recognizing it and then allowing it also to unfold. And with that, I'll pass it over to Caitlin.
Thank you, Karen. That was a very great explanation of what's going on in our physical bodies when we are going through a traumatic emotion or event. Just to take that breath that you mentioned and that stillness a step further, the way I was like kind of looking at it as you were talking is a balance between the divine masculine and feminine. So if we can allow space for what is, that would be the divine feminine coming in instead of her trying to take on that masculine role of rushing and forcing the movement and running. It's like, can we be still and allow what is to come through, and in that space let the movement come to us of what emotion or what thing needs to come up for us next. And that requires us to take some of that pressure and judgment off of, like, it's okay to not know what it is right now. Can you just sit with that and, see what comes up out of that? So yeah, I would like to pass it back to Jaylene for her thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. I think that you both touched on like something super valuable is the fact that, you know, with emotions, it's like that anxiety is the first to really surface. And I like to think of anxiety as like a mask because it often masks the other emotions lying underneath of it. But in order to really get to those emotions, we have to first sit with anxiety. We have to allow the anxiety to melt and give way into what is truly underneath that. And then, so when you're talking about divine feminine and divine masculine balance in Caitlin, that really makes me think about, the world that we live in and the fact that we are conditioned to be so masculine, to control, to hide our emotions, to not feel our true and real feelings and to not allow space for that to be okay. Because even when we think about, the world that we live in and grew up in is the fact of like we're taught to really hide our emotions. We're taught to, you know, you can feel it inside, but don't show it, don't act on it. And I think that really it lays the ground for a precipice of emotional dysregulation and, you know, an overall mental health crisis because we are human. We need to feel our emotions, and that includes the uncomfortable ones. Can we be okay with feeling those uncomfortable emotions, feeling that anxiety so that it can melt and give way to what is truly underneath it? Because I often find, the anxiety will melt away and then the fear will be there. But the fear isn't the core either, because underneath the fear, there's anger, there's betrayal, there's depression, there's sadness. And I think we really need to have these conversations about emotions and normalize feeling them so that our bodies can process them and release them instead of storing them. Karen, what are your thoughts?
Emotional intelligence, the way I describe it, is really coming to learn within ourselves and with others that there's just such a wide range, this wide bandwidth of what emotions are, and then what's also acceptable or unacceptable from a masculine and a feminine perspective as well. Emotions in motion. It's a great song, but it is the energy emotion and recognizing that all emotions, even ones that we may not in the moment be able to identify exactly what they are or what that core seed is. It truly is energy in motion, which brings it back to the breath and brings it back to the body and being able to sit with it and allow ourselves and nurse ourselves to recognize what they are. And if we don't even know the extent or the full expansion of it, you know, is seeing it for what it is, that it's normal and we can allow it and we can accept it. And in doing that, we're also recognizing that within ourselves and recognizing it with others. Like, for example, even with anger, anger gets a bad rap. Betrayal, or when there's a breach of trust, or when there's like underneath a disappointment from an expectation not met, that brings up anger. It's how we act or then react when we're in that state of fight, flight, freeze, that gets a more negative connotation and meaning behind it. I mean, because truly, any and all emotions, as with anything, is the energy itself. Oftentimes brings uncomfortability through emotions and the physical sensations we get when we're having a physiological reaction to those emotions. But it's our body also giving us the information to then flow through and move through them to another level. So, Caitlin, how about you?
I love that, Karen. As you were talking, I thought about water and how it's a mirror of wisdom reflecting everything that is. And clear water, like you can't force the water to get clear, because if you're frantically moving around, it's just going to get all muddied up. But when it's still, that's when it's clear. Be still and see things from a different perspective instead of getting caught up in what's going on right now, like trying to force movement or being too stuck into what's happening instead of just letting it open and allow with the breath. How about you, Jaylene?
Yeah, 100%. You both touched on some topics that are like so important. And like, Karen, when you were talking about expectation, it reminded me of something that I heard one time, that every time we have an expectation that is unmet, a form of trauma happens because we had some vision in mind, it didn't go as planned, and then it crumbles. And in some way, there's those waves of emotions that come with it. There's that trauma that we have to process when we had this perfect vision and it didn't go our way, and now we have to make a different plan. I think when people say trauma, we want to think about something really big and major, right? And yes, trauma can come in that form. But when we actually include the fact that, when something doesn't go as planned, there's a level of trauma that we have to process. We can understand that trauma also happens on smaller scales and it can build up to being something big. When we think about trauma in that way, we really begin to understand that there is no way for us to linearly process all of the traumas that have happened in our lives, because that would take lifetimes. There's far too much trauma for us to be able to say, oh yeah, I know exactly where this has come from or what this is. You might be able to recognize a similarity in feelings. This feels the same as this, but we can't actually pinpoint everything. And then so when we understand trauma from that lens, I think it actually allows us to take that deep breath and realize there's just no way for me to logicize this. There's no way for my mind to begin to process all of this. And that's where we can lean into that feminine that you spoke of, Caitlin, and just be like, can I allow myself to feel this? Can I allow myself to just feel that anxiety, that discomfort, and allow that to melt? Allow the emotional cycle to finish. Because as you both perfectly described, emotions and cycles and waves and in water, emotions truly are like anchor points. So they have cycles as well, right? And so when we, for example, experience anxiety and we cut anxiety short in the minute by denying it, by rejecting it, by pushing it away, by not feeling it, we are not allowing the cycle of emotion to finish, and we're cutting it short, and then that stays and stores in our body until we are ready to allow that cycle of emotions to finish. So when we understand it from that perspective, think about every single time we've denied anxiety, we've denied anger, we've denied pain, because our society teaches us to do that and not feel these feminine emotions, because emotions are very feminine. When we think about that, then you can understand how, little series of little anxious moments can really build up to create a very anxious person who denies their anxiety. And that series of little experiences has created a huge amount of anxiety, of mental health issues within a person, because we've denied ourselves from feeling. So what I think it really comes back to is allowing ourselves to breathe and feel those emotions so that they can be released out of our body, because so many emotions are stored in here every time we deny that cycle from finishing. So I think the bigger question, instead of how do we release trauma that we don't even know is there, the real question is, can you allow yourself to feel those vulnerable feelings and be okay with it? I'm going to pass it to Karen. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, two things came up while both of you were speaking. Truly beautiful. And first, as you were talking about Jaylene and Caitlin and connecting with the feminine as well in the water, really, when we're denying our feelings, our emotions, really, we're not recognizing, we're denying those aspects of ourselves. And we get caught up in, right, the force and the movement, or moving too quick, or avoiding. And so what happens is that's when we're restricting the flow of the more feminine, of the nurturing, of the recognition, of the allowance, that grace that we can offer and receive for ourselves when we just take those moments, the breaths, the pauses, to normalize for ourselves. Okay, I'm feeling this certain way, no matter what the feeling is. And it's not only is it okay, like, this is information coming to me. This is going to assist, and it gets to that sitting with the uncomfortability to move through it, to get to a different point, a different experience, a different level of growth within our journeys while we're here this time. And to also connect with that, when you were speaking, Jaylene, about the expectations and the unmet needs, it brought me to grief, and it brought me to grief because I thought of a beautiful book by Francis Weller, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, where he talks about the gates of grief, and one of the five gates of grief is grieving on unmet expectations, or the expectations unfulfilled. So in looking at that, in taking it to another layer, okay, like, okay, there's this anxiety, there's this fear, there's these emotions, there's this anger, uh, there's this hurt, there's this level of grief. Even if I do not name it or connect it to an experience, by just allowing that and recognizing that the potentiality is there, it's another avenue and another opportunity to offer that level of compassion and love and acceptance, reconciliation with oneself for whatever moment that's bringing that level of intensity of a feeling that is bringing a physiological response. So, yeah, that's what came to me. Thank you both. Caitlin?
Yeah, that was very beautiful what you were saying. And yeah, it even goes beyond just that compassion and love for us, but even to others, because then we know how to safely hold space for other people, and we don't try to take on their emotions for them or push them away further. Um, it really reconnects us to life itself, because about our connections with ourselves and others and the beings around us, and our breath is also a part of that too. You know, whether we are conscious of it or not, at the end of every exhale, there is a short pause. And we can look at that pause as this frantic of the unknown, what's going to happen next, or we can shift our perspective into this is where something new comes out of that space. It's the next breath in that comes after that. And so again, it's coming back to those cycles and even changing our perspective on the emotions themselves, like going back to that eagles are often connected with like spirit, and what is an emotion but information. And if we can cut out some of that judgment and harshness with ourselves, we can see the message that was trying to come through to us, that we aren't in balance at this moment, that, you know, there's something deeper we need to uncover and look at. And by just allowing that to surface naturally, it it can be a beautiful shift on the other side. Yeah. So if there's anything else that you have thought-wise, Jaylene, I will send it back to you.
Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, I think you both like summarized it perfectly. And so as we close here, before we move into the next phase, which is the energy work and the journey, I just really like to highlight, we started this conversation out with like a really big question of like, how do we process trauma that we don't know is there? And we ended it quite simply with feeling emotions, feeling those feelings viscerally and allowing them to release out of our body so that our nervous system can regulate, allowing ourselves to breathe and pause and hold grace for ourselves, and even just that self-compassion and self-love, so that we can again allow our nervous system to regulate. And so I think some of us might have resistance because, we started off with a really big question and we really came back to simplicity, but that is, in essence, is the true answer. It's those simple things that we take for granted, like our breath, the fact that we're human and that emotions are normal. So I think that is the really big thing that I want to highlight is the answers can be simple. And, through our journeys, our collective journeys as shaman, and really going through the forging of the fire, I think for me, it's always come back to simplicity and allowing any tension with simplicity to melt away, because it can and is simple. We just have to let go of whatever might be in the way of allowing ourselves for it to be simple. The breath starts everything and the breath ends everything. So when we can allow that sacred space for just breathing our emotions out of our body so that our nervous system can be at peace, I think that's the biggest answer. I think that is literally 90% of processing emotions. The other 10% is moving on and living life. So with that, I'd like to see if Karen has any closing thoughts.
I like to use the analogy of a roller coaster. And when you're at a carnival or whatever and you're going past the roller coaster and all you're doing is hearing all these people on the roller coaster and they're screaming. But truly you do not have any idea what people who are on the ride, how they're perceiving. There are some that this is the best ride of their life and excited and thrilled. And there are others who are nervous. There are others that are maybe in complete panic mode, thinking they may not be, they may not make it back. And by saying like, how can I perceive this in a different light and from a different angle, can also be that little shift by acknowledging, processing, and releasing instead of avoiding or suppressing.
I would also kind of like to end with another thought on perspective. Just imagining that you got a thorn or a sliver in your hand, and would you go through life leaving that in and trying to like, when you anything you do, you're trying to avoid hurting it more, or you might accidentally bump it and it gets driven in deeper, it hurts worse? Or would you just bear with the pain for just a couple seconds and just pull it out? I feel like some of our emotions can be like that. We spend a lot of our time and life energy trying to avoid touching on those things, when if we just we're able to sit with that for just a few seconds, we could pull that sliver out and it would be gone for good.
Yeah, thank you both. You both had such amazing analogies to end with that I think really drive home the whole fact of like sometimes we just have to sit with a little bit of discomfort so that we can expand outside of the box that we placed ourselves in, because it truly is a box when we avoid, when we deny, when we reject, because we won't go to those edges because we don't want to feel. So it really comes back to if you allow yourself to feel, you don't have to be trapped in that box anymore. So with that, I say thank you so much for joining us. We love and appreciate you. And let's head into the next phase, which is the journey. Welcome to the journeys portion of today's episode. We kindly ask that you do not engage with these meditations while you are driving or are otherwise distracted. Please wait until you are in an environment where you can close your eyes and relax, so these activations can authentically flow. When you are ready, let's dive in with Shaman Caitlin as she guides us through Onto-High alchemy and belief codes.
I want you to take a moment to tune into your breath and your body. And as you do that, I'm going to do a collective body code session. I'm going to find and release the top emotions that are preventing us from allowing what is. And just to explain a little bit more about body code, when I do this work, as Jaylene kind of mentioned in our talk earlier, each emotion goes through a cycle. It is created, it is experienced, and then it is let go. But if at some point we cling to or deny the emotion, then it becomes trapped at whatever point in that cycle that it was trapped. So this is going to be the process of releasing it. So each person might handle the processing differently depending on what part of the emotion it was trapped. So with that being said, you could gently let your eyes close, and I will begin. The first emotion coming up is betrayal. I'm going to have you take a nice deep breath in as I release. And I release the emotion by swiping over the governing meridian. The next trapped emotion that is coming up is despair. Inhale and exhale as I release despair. Those are the top two trapped emotions that have been coming up for the collective, and they have now been released. We'll sit here for a second, just tuning into your body and your breath, noticing how you feel now that those two emotions have been released. This isn't a quick fix to just get rid of the emotion. It is an allowing of what is. It is allowing the betrayal. It is allowing the despair at the point in which we trapped it. And through that alchemical process of allowing them to be there, we open space for what's next to come. And now, we'll hand it over to Jaylene for the shamanic journey.
Take a deep breath. and another. We are going on a journey into the unconscious mind. And as we just breathe and relax, all you have to do is listen to the sound of my voice as you relax deeper and deeper. Taking another breath in. Let us first just connect with our body. Breathing peace and comfort into the body. Breathing and allowing the nervous system to just relax. Giving yourself this space to just unwind. And all you have to do is breathe and relax. And ask your nervous system to breathe and relax with you. On your next breath in, going a layer deeper and deeper. Settling in and just releasing the breath, releasing the body, releasing the mind. As you simply just exist. In this layer, it's going to seem like thoughts and perceptions are faster. Maybe they're just a flash. Don't analyze. But instead, just observe. Observe the thoughts, emotions, perceptions that flash before you, and let them go. In this layer, we do not attach, we only observe. We only gain clarity and insight when we release, when we don't chase, but rather see the bigger picture. Taking a deep breath, and again, relaxing deeper and deeper, as if you're now on a cloud, floating blissfully. You might not have any idea what's around you. You're just floating. Your body feeling lighter and lighter. And as you just be here, take another deep breath. and invite in an uplifting emotion that you want to experience more in your life. There is no right or wrong, just whatever feels right to you. And as you breathe, sync up with that emotion. And the fastest way to do this is by remembering a moment where you viscerally felt that uplifting emotion. Surrendering with your breath and reliving that amazing moment. Immersing yourself and taking in the colors and textures and sounds around you. Allowing the emotion to flow through you. And now anchoring that emotion so that only this sound of this emotion exists. Expanding this emotion in the unconscious mind. All that is not harmonic with this vibration falls away. There are things here you don't need to analyze, you don't need to understand, you don't need to heal or fix. You just have to give your body and mind permission to let go. So take a deep breath and anchor in that uplifting emotion as its vibration flows through your unconscious mind. And all the old stories fall away. Reprogramming, rewriting the unconscious mind with this beautiful, uplifting vibration to support you, to nourish you, to love you. Taking a deep breath. No forcing, only surrendering. In this moment, you need to choose your happiness. You need to believe in yourself, that you are worthy of feeling great. Everybody has a past, but that does not mean that we cannot grow. This journey is one of growth. By you growing, by you releasing, you contribute to making a better tomorrow. So yes, you do deserve it. We need you. You are important. Believe it. Know it. This choice that you are making right now to be happy, is changing the world because we are doing it together. And when we all come together, we can and do make a difference. Surrender into your anchoring emotion and let all else fall away. Trust and know that this emotion is supporting you, is co-creating with you. And on your next breath, allow this emotion to flow through every cell in your body, flowing out of the unconscious into the subconscious, into the conscious, and into every cell in your body. All you have to do is breathe. All you have to do is relax. And on your next breath, remembering that cloud that we began on, looking up into the sky, see a portal of transformation and transcendence that we have opened together. On your next breath, let your body float towards the portal. And as you enter it, all that no longer serves you must be left behind. See yourself leaving behind the baggage at the doorway, that which we have carried for too long, that which we know it is time to release. Without analyzing, without negotiating, you again must choose yourself. Choose your growth. Believe in yourself. You can do this. It is a choice in this moment, on this journey. Breathe and let it go as you feel lighter and float through the portal with me, with us. Remember that uplifting emotion that you picked. Feel it once more, running through you with every breath, in every cell. This is your anchor point, your new set point. Breathe. Breathe. Breathe and let go. And simply now, just listen to the sound bath and let its vibrations carry you away. And as the frequencies of the sound bath nourish you and carry you in its beautiful sound vibration rhythm, allow that to carry you back into this moment where we are together. As Shaman Caitlin guides us through the sound bath into somatic integration, so all of the frequencies and energy medicine that you experienced on today's journey will fully integrate with you.
Gently let your eyes close and just take some time to begin to tune into your breath. We're not going to control it. We're just going to let it be how it is and just notice. And then we're going to move into some gentle guiding. So you're going to inhale for 2 counts, hold for 1 count, exhale for 4 counts, and then hold for 1 count. We're just going to do a few minutes of cycling through that. When we inhale shorter than the exhale, so our exhale is about double the inhale, that really puts us into the rest and digest stage of our nervous system. So that is going to be very calming and just kind of slow everything down. We're going to add the holds in before the exhale turns into an inhale and after the exhale turns into an inhale, to give us that pause like we talked about earlier, helping us build that resilience to be in that unknown state. And it's just telling our body that, hey, it's safe to be here. So we're just going to do that. So we'll inhale for 2, hold for 1, exhale for 4, hold for 1. And we're just going to keep doing that and go at your own pace. And a little tip that I've learned is within the counting, can you still slow things down even more? That will bring more presence into the equation, because we're always used to rushing and doing things really fast. So even if you're only inhaling for 2 counts, can you draw that out? Just keep moving at your own pace. And if at any time you need to take a little rest and then come back to it. Feeling the air coming in through your nose. Feeling the pause as you hold. And then feeling the exhale. And if you want to exhale through your mouth, you surely can. If you want to make a sound, you surely can. And then we'll hold again at the end and just keep going. And then I want you to do 2 more rounds. And when you finish your rounds, let go of the focus on your breath. Let go of trying to control the breath. And just sit in the silence. Come back into the room. Come back into your body. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
And as you come back into this present moment now, awake and aware and moving your body, breathe one last breath of life with us together now. As all of the energy medicine of today integrates within you and supports you as you journey forward. We extend you love and gratitude for being a sacred part in our circle on the shaman's journey today. Journey on, my friend.